Math 76 lesson 116, unit multipliers. Now, unit multipliers are a very, very interesting concept, and they have a lot of application in future math classes. But for right now, what you guys should already know as unit multipliers is this table right here, okay? So the way a unit multiplier works is I can take any single conversion rate on this table, write it as a fraction, and that now becomes a unit multiplier. So we'll take this one, 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. How would I write that conversion rate as a unit multiplier? Well, I would just write a fraction. I put a set of parentheses around it. That's the other thing. Unit multipliers, they typically have parentheses around them. And then I just write the fraction. And let's say put 12 inches is equal to 1 foot, right? Now some of you are probably wondering, Mr. Claiborne, how'd you know to put 12 inches on top? Well, I didn't. I could rewrite this exact same unit multiplier. I could rewrite it like this. I could write it as 1 foot over 12 inches, right? This is actually the same number, right? If I were to visualize this, let's pretend this red line is a 1 foot line, right? Let's say I write that 1 foot line. This is 1 foot. That distance, let's say I were to write that as a fraction or divide it by a 12-inch line, right? So then I've got a 12-inch line. Are those not the same length? They are. They are the same length. If I was to split this line evenly across that line, I'd still end up with one line. And that's what we're seeing here. That's the interesting thing about a unit multiplier. A unit multiplier is actually a fraction that is equal to the number 1. Because if I divide 1 foot by 12 inches, that's the same length. It's the same distance. It's the same number. It's just written differently. So it goes along with our theme for the school year of learning how to rewrite numbers. So unit multipliers are actually all equal to the number 1. Every single unit multiplier is equal to the number 1. Same with this one. If I were to draw a 12-inch line divided by a 1 foot line, that would still be equal to 1. Okay? I can do this with any unit multiplier that I know, or any conversion rate that I know. So for example, I could do it with 3 feet in 1 yard. I could do it with 5,280 feet in 1 mile. Right? I forgot to put the parentheses around them. These are all different unit multipliers, and we can write them from memory because we should have already memorized all of our unit conversions by now. So having that knowledge of unit conversions is very helpful with unit multipliers because you're going to have to know them. Now let's talk about how we use unit multipliers. Unit multipliers are very useful when we have to convert numbers, right? Now, mostly what you guys have been using, let's say I told you to convert 24 feet to yards, you've been using memorization, right? If I told you, oh, I got to convert 24 feet, I need that to turn into yards, YDS, you'd go, okay, well, I remember there's 3 feet in a yard, and you would memorize, like, oh, should I multiply or divide? I think I divide because yards are bigger, right? That's how you've always memorized it. Well, unit multipliers will make it to where you will never ever be wrong as to whether or not you should multiply or divide. Let's start with this example. And let's also talk about the rules of unit multipliers. The way I use unit multipliers to convert 24 feet to yards is I'm going to take my starting number, 24 feet, and I write it as a fraction. 24 feet over 1, right? That's the word as a fraction. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a blank unit multiplier, right? And in this blank unit multiplier, I'm going to figure out how to make my final answer yards, right? So now I ask myself, I've got feet. Do I have something in my brain that I've memorized that converts feet to yards? Oh, I do. It's 3 feet in 1 yard. Now, remember how before, I said this unit multiplier can be written either way? That becomes very important now. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to write the unit multiplier of feet to yards, but I have to make sure that whatever word is in the numerator over here, whatever word is in the starting point, that word now has to be on the bottom, right? So now it does matter how I write it. So whatever word is here has to be down here. So if feet's up here, the next unit multiplier has to have feet in the bottom. So if I've memorized that there's 3 feet in the yard and feet is on the bottom, then the top word must be yards, right? And I memorized 3 feet in 1 yard. I now have my unit multiplier, and I multiply to get the final answer. So before I multiply, I see, hey, I can cross cancel the word feet, and now if I multiply 24 times 1 yards, that equals 24 yards. And then if I multiply 1 times 3, because the feet is gone, that just gives me 3. So now I have 24 over 3 yards. Hey, that can reduce. I know 3 goes into 24 8 times, so that just equals 8 yards. And that is my final answer. All right. Now, some of you are going to be very, very tempted to not use this method at all because you'll think, Mr. Claiborne, I know the unit multipliers. I can see the answer immediately. This is not that hard. And you're right. Some of you that have a really good number sense, that have memorized your times tables, that have memorized your unit conversions, you are probably capable of solving this problem without using any of these steps. It's in your best interest to learn how to do these steps now, because these steps do not go away. Like I said, unit multipliers have a lot of applications in future math classes. They have a lot of applications in chemistry, which you take in high school. And if you don't learn these steps now, you're going to make it harder for yourself later. So memorize these steps now while the problems are easy, so that way you're not struggling when the problems get harder. Okay? So make sure you do all these steps when you solve these problems, and that's it for this lesson. If you guys have any questions, let me know on the school website, and I will see you in class.